Hi students, today in Ms. McCleskey's class we want to talk about some statistics we can create from a data set. These are all mathematical terms, so we're going to talk about, I've written them down here, I want to talk about the mean, the median, and the mode. Anytime you have a data set and you know what all the values in the data set are, you can calculate the mean and the median and the mode. Let me show you how to do this real quick. So I've created this data set here. I just made these numbers up out of my head. So we've got 7, 12, 15, 5, 9, 13, and 9. How many numbers are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. So the way to calculate the mean, and oh, by the way, mean and average are the same thing. So the way to calculate a mean or an average is simply to add up all the numbers and then divide that sum, divide that total by the amount of numbers there are. So let's do this real quick. Let's see, I'll just add these up in my head. So 7 and 12 is 19, plus 15 is 34, plus 5 is 39, plus 9 is 48, plus 13 is 61, plus 9 is 70. So the total here is 70. Well, that was lucky, made the math kind of easy here. So I add all those up and I've got 70. Pull back here so you can see them all. And in order to find the mean, I take that 70 and I divide it by the size of the data set. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. This is the sum, so I'm not going to count that number. So in this case, I just have to say 70 divided by 7. And that one's easy. I can do that in my head. So 70 divided by 7 is just 10. So for this data set, my mean is 10. And that's all there is to it. That's all you have to do to calculate the mean or the average. Sometimes you might need a calculator or maybe a spreadsheet or something to help you add those numbers up quickly without making mistakes. But for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, how do I calculate the median? Well, to calculate the median, the first thing you need to do is reorder the numbers from smallest to largest. So let me take a second to do that. All right. So we've got a 5, a 7, and a couple of 9s. So let me write those. 5, 7, 9, 9. And I've got a 12, a 13, and a 15. You have to be a little bit careful about when you're putting these in order, because if you make a mistake somewhere, it might mess up your median. By definition, the median is the point at which there are the same amount of numbers that are greater than that amount and the same amount of numbers that are less than that amount. So what does that mean? Well, I have to look at this two different ways. If I have an odd number of data points, then I simply just take the middle data point. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 data points. That's odd. So I just need to take the middle data point. So you can either think about, well, I've got one up here and one down here, one up here and one down here. I can kind of look at this and I can kind of see that this data point right here is right in the middle of the data set. And that's what makes that the median. So in this case, the median would be 9. Okay, that's what you do if you have an odd number of data points. You can see that there are 3 numbers that are above that and 3 numbers that are below that. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, wait a minute, that's 9 and that's 9. 9 is not bigger than 9. It's the same size. And yes, you're right, it is the same size. But this is how you do the median. You sort them from smallest to largest, and then you pick the middle number if you have an odd number of data points. Let's suppose you had an even number of data points. And just to make this easy, I'm going to add one more data point that's bigger than all the rest. So right now, 15 is the biggest. So let's suppose there was another data point on here, and let's suppose it was 18. Now I have 8 data points. And in order to find the median, I would want to pick the place where there's the same number above and below my, what I'm going to call the median. So I'm going to draw it first. And I can see I've got 4 data points here, 4 data points here. So this point right here is right in between those numbers, so that there are 4 larger and that there are 4 smaller. And in order to calculate the median, then there's lots of different ways to do it. The easiest, most straightforward way to do it is to say, well, the median's exactly in the middle between 9 and 12. So what's between 9 and 12? Well, you got 10 and 11. So 10 and a half is right in the middle between 9 and 12. If that doesn't make sense to you, think about it for a minute and convince yourself that that's the case. So for this data set, notice that 10 and a half would be the median. I've erased it already, but 10 is the mean. Now I want you to notice something else. There is no 10 in either of these data sets, and there is no 10 and a half in either of these data sets. So the number that you calculate as the mean or the median does not necessarily have to show up in your data set, but it's just a mathematical construction. Okay. One more thing I want to tell you about is called the mode. So let me go back to my original data set. I'm going to erase this 18 for a minute. And the mode is actually easiest to do graphically if you draw a picture like a dot plot or a histogram or something. But we've got a fairly small data set, so we can just look at it straightforward. The mode is the number that occurs the most frequently. So in this case, you see we've got 1, 5, 1, 7, 2 9s, 1, 12, 1, 13, and 1, 15. So just because there are 2 9s and there aren't 2 of anything else, that would mean 9 is the mode. Now, the mode isn't really very useful as far as a calculation goes, but we all still like to teach about it. Okay, so that's a real brief explanation of mean, median, and mode. I want to do one quick demonstration for you about the mean, and then I want to show you that I've calculated the mean and median and the mode in the data set that I showed you the other day that I collected when I was doing the little scoop in the balls. All right, first things first, little demonstration. So it's important to think about a mean being kind of a balance point for the data. So here's what I've done. I've got these 50-cent piece coins. They're pretty big. They're quite, I don't know if you've seen a 50-cent piece or not. It's usually got John F. Kennedy's picture on the one side. Let me show you that. And they're bigger than a quarter. They're heavier than a quarter. They're a pretty big coin. So what I've done is I've taken some of these 50-cent pieces and I've taken them together on a ruler. So here, I'll show you the ruler. Okay. So what I've done is I've taken 9 50-cent pieces here at the 1 and 1 50-cent piece here out at the 11. So if we treated these like numbers, so if I had 9 1s and an 11, can we calculate the mean of those bunch of numbers? Well, I can, because I've got 9 1s, so 9 times 1 is 9, plus 11, that would be 20. 20 divided by 10, because I've got 10 total coins here. I've got 9 over here and 1 over here. So 20 divided by 10 is 2. So that says my mean, my balance point, if you will, should be at approximately 2. So if you look at that and you had to balance that on your finger, can you guys see that the balance point is not going to be way out here, because this side would just be way heavy. It's like a seesaw. That side would be way heavy. Even right in the middle between the two, it's not going to be there, because this side's still going to be, even though they're equally distant from the balance point or the fulcrum, if you want to use that word, this side's still much heavier. I have to move my balance point way down here, close to the 9 coins over here. And you can see how I've done that here. I've balanced that by having the mean, if you will, very close to where the big pile of numbers is, because there's a single number out here that is dragging it a little bit that way. But the mean is, you can think of it physically as the balance point when you're balancing a bunch of numbers. Okay, I rewrote my data set on a bigger piece of paper, and I'll send you a copy of this. But this is the data set from what I did the other day. So if I wanted to do the mean, the median, and the mode of this data set, what I would do is I would real quickly add these up, see if I can do this in my head. 40, 61, 211, 225, 285, 350, 377, 525, 539, 629, 669, 708 is the sum of all those numbers. So let me get my whiteboard out again. In order to calculate the mean, again, you can use a calculator if you have one, or a spreadsheet if you know how to use that, but I don't have one handy here, so I'm going to say 708, and I'm going to divide that by 30. I hope Miss McCluskey has taught you guys about having decimal numbers, so we'll do that here. So 30, first thing I'm going to do is 30 goes into 70 how many times? Well, it goes twice. So I'm going to put a 2 up here. 2 times 30 is 60. That's what I've done so far. I don't know if you guys even do long division in school anymore. Anyway, 70 minus 60 is 10. I bring down the 8. So now I've got 30 into 108. So that'd be 30, 60, 90. 30 goes into 108 3 times. So that's going to be 23. 3 times 30 is 90. So that's where I'm at. Okay, 108 minus 90 is going to be 18. Bring down the next digit. So now I got to bring down something past the decimal. So I got 30 into 18.0. But if I treat it like 30 into 180, well, 30 goes into 180 6 times. 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. So that's 6 times. And then 6 times 30 is 180 with my decimal in the right place. That gives me a 0. So 708 divided by 30 is 23.6. And that's the mean. And if you look at the mean, does it pass the smell test? Is it kind of in the middle of all these numbers? Well, yeah, it feels like there's a lot of numbers bigger than it and a lot of numbers smaller than it. So that seems like a reasonable mean. All right. Now I've got a pretty big data set, so I don't want to resort it and figure out what the median is that way. But I can go back and use, remember when we did those dot plots from the other day? Let me do that. I've got 30 data points, so I want to figure out where there will be 15 points less than that line and 15 points greater than that line. So I'm going to just start counting up the dots starting from the left. I've got 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there are 15 data points that are smaller than or equal to 24. And by subtraction, there are also 15 data points that are larger than or equal to 24. So if I were to sort these numbers from smallest to largest and then go down 15 numbers and put a line like there, like we did with the whiteboard just a minute ago, I would have a 24 on top and a 24 on the bottom. Well, the middle of 24 and 24 is 24. So that would make the median of my set 24. Also, if I wanted to figure out what the mode was, a dot plot is super helpful to find that out because all I do is look for the tallest line. You can see the tallest line is right here at 25. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers at 25. So that makes my mode 25. So mean is 23.6, median is 24, and mode is 25. Okay, that's all for today's lesson. So just think about mean or the average being a balance point, and think about my ruler example and what you would do to get your data to balance out. All right, have a great day. We'll see you later. Bye.